Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I decided to make the boys a traditional American breakfast, and what is more American than sausage gravy and biscuits? So for today's video, we're going to be making the sausage gravy. Normally, obviously you know sausage gravy is made with butter and heavy cream. And so we're going to be substituting that out today. We're going to start with 1 pound of turkey breakfast sausage. Now, I grew up using turkey breakfast sausage. My mom always used that because when I was little, I used to be allergic to pork. So I have a lot of allergies, not just dairy. I have grown out of the pork allergy, but because I grew up eating the turkey sausage, I came to like the flavor better, and so I continue to use that. And so we are going to brown this pound of turkey sausage. Alright, now we got our turkey sausage all browned here, and with regular pork sausage, if you're using pork sausage, you're going to have that fat in the pan. You're going to use that to make a roux. Because of the turkey sausage not having as much fat, we are actually going to add some Earth Balance butter to this so that we have something to go on to make that roux. So if you've never made a roux before, a roux is just usually butter, but sometimes fat. So it's any type of fat that you have, and flour. And that's going to be your base to a lot of your cream sauces, like almost all of your cream sauces. It's also the base to a lot of your cream soups. So we're just going to melt this butter down here. And then when you're making the roux, it's going to be equal parts butter and flour. And so we've got the butter all melted. You can take the sausage out of the pan before you put the butter in, or you can just leave it in there. It's completely up to you. Sometimes it's a little bit easier if you take it out because then you're not trying to work around the pieces of meat that are in there, but it's perfectly fine. So equal parts butter and flour. We're just going to sprinkle some flour in here, and we are going to mix this up. You want to make sure that you let this cook for at least a minute, because you want to cook the flour. That's what we're doing here. We're cooking this flour so that your gravy doesn't taste like flour, it tastes like gravy. And so we're just going to move this around with our whisk. You can get the spatula back out at this point. So if you take the meat out of the pan when you're doing this, it's going to be more like a paste, maybe a little bit thinner than a paste. You don't want it super thick when you just got the flour and the butter in there. But if you leave the meat in there, of course, it binds to the meat, and then it makes it a little bit thicker looking because it's sticking to the outside of that meat. And that is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you're moving it around so that you can get all of that flour cooked. We don't want raw flour in our gravy here. All right, now that we know we've got that flour cooked, we are going to start adding our dairy alternative. Normally when you're making sausage gravy, you're going to use cream, like usually a heavier cream. We are going to use non-dairy creamer and water. So when you're doing non-dairy creamer and water, normally it is 1/4 non-dairy creamer, 3/4 water. When you want to do something like a heavier cream, you're going to change that ratio up and use a little bit more non-dairy creamer. So in this case, it's more like a 50/50 ratio. And so you're going to start slowly adding that, stirring it as you're adding. And as you're adding it, you're going to see that gravy start to come together here. And because the flour is on the outside of the meat, you're going to want to make sure that you're stirring that meat all around so that we're getting that flour off the outside of the meat, and it's thickening this gravy for us. All right, and so now that we've got all of our creamer added and we've got this nice and thick gravy going here, now we're gonna add the seasoning. So I usually add the seasoning towards the end before I put this on to simmer, because I'm gonna let this simmer for a little while as well. And so I don't measure, remember guys. Now if you're using pork sausage, you're going to use less salt because pork is saltier than turkey is. So make sure that you are tasting as you go, especially if it's your first time making it, because then you can kind of eye it after that, because you know how much you put in of everything, and you can kind of look as you're pouring it in to see if that's the right amount. And so we're going to add some pepper here. And the amount of pepper you add, of course, is going to be determined by your taste. If you like a pepper gravy, you like your sausage gravy peppery, you're going to add more pepper. Obviously, if you don't, you're going to add less pepper. And so I think that this is probably about to the point where I'm going to need to simmer it. I'm going to turn this down onto simmer, and we're going to grab a spoon, and we are going to make sure that our flavors are right. Most things you can smell to see if you've got the flavors right, if you've got the right herbs and everything. But with salt, you really can't smell. You need to taste it. So let's grab a spoon and see if we got the right amount of salt. All right, let's see here. That's right. All right, guys. And so this is our sausage gravy. We're going to stick a lid on this, and we're just going to let it simmer until everything else for breakfast is ready. Hey guys, so here is our traditional American breakfast, all ready for the boys. And of course, our sausage gravy and biscuits. I hope that your family enjoys this as much as mine does. Thanks for watching.